And now we have a presentation from Gon-Wung. I hope I have pronounced your name correctly, sir. This is a presentation concerning water treatment, specifically in relation to vortex action and also in relation to hydrophilic powder. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what Gon-Wung has discovered in this area. So let's give him a big round of applause.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. The topic that I'm going to present this time is the effect of manufacturing process on the properties of the structured waters. And my name is Gon-Wung Bang. It's very hard to pronunciate. And So-Hyung Bak is my student. And Young-Tae Kim is from KP Energy, who supplies the water. And Song-Gu Hwang is at Hanyang National University. He did the cell proliferation experiment. And Junyan Hwang is that he observed the cryo scanning electron microscopy. And I will show you the process that I adopted to make a structured water. And also I'll compare those properties using the optical method, electrical method, cryo-SEM, and biological properties. And specimen was prepared in two ways. The water one is the control, is the deionized water, and it was mixed with hydrophilic ceramic powders. Two kinds of the ceramic powder was used, the QC and R300, with a different concentration of the 0.1% and 1%. And it was hand-shaken for 5 minutes and centrifuged for 30 minutes at the 3,500 RPM. And the water two, we control is purified tap water. And HO9 and HO32 is actually HO32 is that H3O2. We got the name from that, the EG zone water, H3O2. So it named as H3O2. It's vortex treated in one direction and reverse at final stage. And HO9 is that vortex treated in one direction, unidirectional treatment. And for the one, we already reported that the EG zone is formed around this hydrophilic powder, and it was reported in the Advanced in Material Science and in Engineering. And water two showed that the equipment that were used to make by the vortex process. So in this case, only physical process has been applied, so nothing was mixed together, so only pure waters. And method of the characterization that I used was the optical properties for UV visual range and FTIR and Raman scattering. And for the electrical properties, I measured the oxidation reduction potential and also electrochemical impedance spectroscopy was used. And cryo-SEM and biological properties for the proliferation rate of the 264.7 macrophage cells was used to observe its effect. And for the FTIR, Raman, and UVVs of the water, is a summation, is a summary, but I will go on first. This is the FTIR, the measurement for the water one. Water one is mixed with the QC powder. And we observed that the absorption peak around here. You see the 0.1% and 1.0%. And for the similar powder, hydrophilic powder showed also the peaks around here, the broad absorption peaks. those peaks are from the OH vibration. And for FTIR, the measurement for the water 2 is water 2 was prepared by the vortex process. And we observed a very sharp peak in here. But for HO9 is that very weak, but HO32 very clear the peak as it was observed in the same for the range. And for the DD range, 3,300 is the OH stretch vibration, so that we estimate that it's from the OH the vibration causes the absorption of that range. An interesting point is that I observed for the Raman spectroscopy, and so it's before mixture is a black line, and it's a 0.1%, and then at the time it's passing by, like the 12 hours, 24 hours, it's going further upward, and then later, 48 hours later, it's lowered down. So it means that the scattering had been reduced in this case. And also, I repeat the same experiment with 1% of the concentration. In this case, again, a little increase at the beginning, and then 24 hours, 48 hours is decreasing. So that the continuously, the scattering is decreasing. So this Raman scattering is reported to be the asymmetric and symmetric OH stress caused by this scattering. So the results of that is summary for the water 1, the R300 for QC, a new absorption peak at this range, 1,006 centimeter minus. I do not know where does it come from. And a new broad absorption peak around 3,300 per centimeters, about 3 microns. And for the water 2, also the similar peak also observed. And Raman scattering, on the other hand, is that those the scattering from this OH symmetric and asymmetric had been reduced. So I expect that it is because of the possible development of the water structures, and OH band, the vibration becomes more stable and consistent, and results in the least scattering and the increased absorption. And I will show you about the UV visible the range spectrum of the water N1-2. The water 1 is the N sample 2. It's 2 months later for the same waters prepared right after the centrifugation and 2 months later. And in this case, I used the two kind of the sample holders. The first one is a regular cuvette, 1 centimeter the sample the holder, and the other one is a 10 centimeter sample holders for so that the passage length is 10 times larger. And for the water, one is that 0.1% is a weak, the peak in here, but for the 1.1% is very strong peak around here. So 1 centimeter cubic is that the 0.1% peak range is 210 to 230 nanometers, and 1 point is almost the same, a little larger, the 310 nanometers. And when I use the 10 centimeter sample holder, the range of the peak is broadened much more, from 200 to 300, and for 1% even 600. So for example, 300 nanometers showed very low here, but 10 centimeter long is quite high in here compared to this. So it means that the long range is causes the wide range of the absorption in this case. And also for the other, the hydrophilic powder also showed the same trend, like here, 350, increasing using the longer the sample holder causes the wider broadened the peak. But again, then we can observe that 0.1% is weak peak, but 1% is very strong peak. And I measured this sample after the 2 months later to see that whether there is any change on this peak or the optical behavior. And I found that it becomes very stable, and it showed that very strong peak for the 1% in here around. 0.1% is not so high, but 1% is that still showing very high absorption peak for the broad range. And for water 2, it was prepared by the only mechanical processing. But in this case, very weak peak, HO9 and HO32 water is vortex treated, showed very weak peak around 220 nanometers. So when I started to characterize the behavior of this water 2 using this optical method, at the first time I was disappointed because I could not observe the strong peak. But its characteristic is somewhat like the not so strong peak. And this is a slide that I found from the applied spectroscopy and measured for the UV range absorption of the waters, 8 kinds of the mineral waters and pure waters, and no broad peaks for the range of the 220 nanometers to 280 nanometers. So it's a new peaks that we can say about. And again, I measured the oxidation reduction potential is for 30 minutes. Also both water showed that decreased the oxidation reduction potential. It means that increased the reduction capability. And water 1 prepared by mixing with hydrophilic powder showed decreased ORP in order of the powder concentration. And water 2 prepared by vortex treatment showed decreased the ORP also in order of the treatment, that is the HO9 and HO32. So water 1 is that the control water is 510 millivolt, and it will lower down 436 and 393. It looks like that the big change or variation, but it's because of the expanded the vertical axis. If it is increased, then it's almost flat. So, and mixed with R300 also showed from 510 to 425 to 391 millivolt, lower down. And water 2 is that HO9 and HO32 is starting from 407 to the 395 to 386, so it's continuously decreasing. And also, water 2 also measured in the 2 months, more than 2 months later, shows that still lower the concentration, lower the oxidation reduction potentials from 47, 395, 386. This control water also saved for 2 months, also at the same time. And this is the result that it was reported in the International Journal of Cell Biology before. And I did this experiment using the tert-butyl hydroperoxide. Because the oxidation reduction potential is just showing that it's the reductive potential, but I wanted to confirm that it's really showing reductive reactions in chemical reactions. So the tert-butyl hydroperoxide is a well-known oxidizers, and it is widely used for the free radical experiment. And when I applied this TBHP to the treated water, I found that the number of the photon emission is really decreasing. It means that the water has the reductive power even in chemical reactions. And electrochemical impedance spectroscopy has been also applied to measure about the electrical properties changes. And this is the QC powder. It's a reference, the ionized water, and then the reference water, and as it is lower down, is with the concentration in the order of the concentration, 0.1% to 1% or so. And I think that this is because the ionic concentration had been increased due to the mixing with powder. And same trend was observed for the R300 powders, 0.1%, 1% lower down. An interesting point was observed for the water 2 is that right after the measured after 5 days later, manufactured after 5 days after manufacturing, it shows that HO32 shows higher the impedance compared to this purified water. And HO9 is almost similar to the HDR purified water, so there was almost no difference. But HO32 showed higher resistance. And for the 2.5 months later, it shows that the HO32 is lowered down, but the HO9 had been increased. So somewhat like that, its structure is developing, slowly or so. We need more experiments, so still the experiment is going on right now. And previously, I reported in the plots that with the structure of the water is being structured, the dielectric constant is increasing. It means that the capacity of the water to store the potential is increasing. So this new model had been proposed that water is mixed with the high-density structured waters like easy zone, and also the ordinary waters, which has the H plus and E minus also. So it's something like the water structure. And I applied the cryogenic scanning electron microscopy this time. And it was reported before that the structured water showed very unique structure composed with the high-density ice and low-density in between. So this one magnified, showed that this is the high-density water, and in the middle, the low-density water showed that this kind of spongy form of the ice. And this time, I applied this cryoscanning electron microscopy to observe the waters prepared by the vortex treatment. And this reference distilled water shows that no critical or special characters in here, just the cleavage, the surface on the fracture surface. And HO9 showed that somewhat similar to the previously observed, like some sponge-shaped, like this one. And HO32 is that different, but still there is some kind of forms like this. And lastly, I will report about that biological effect. And so both water showed the same trend, the increased cell proliferation rate. It was reported previously that the water mixed with the hydrophilic powder shows that increased the growth speed of the seed, like this one. This is quite fast. And also, the experiment using the RAW 264.7 is a macrophage cell. Is the immune, is the related cells, and then the viability and proliferation, the rate is increasing, and also the phagocytic activity is also increasing about 2 times, very large effect. And natural killer cells also increasing, and mouse splenocyte also increasing. So, and suppression of cancer cell was also observed in that. So this time, H9 and H32 had been used because we already have data for the water mixed with the hydrophilic powder. And 24 hours later, increasing, control, and 48 hours, now further, and 72 hours, almost 2 times larger. So that the effect of the increased proliferation rate had been confirmed again for the waters they are treated with vortex process only. And some more interesting result, for the H9 and H32, it was prepared by vortex treatment only. So it's safe to drink, so we just applied it for the drinking. So MDA is malondialdehyde, is an indicator of the free radical. And the lipid peroxidation is a well-established mechanism of the cellular injury, and so as an indicator of the oxidative stress in cells and tissues. And this one can be measured by the analysis of the malondialdehyde, MDA. So it's very simple system, and that can be measured from the urine. And we have applied some people to drink 18 days or 20 days, 200 milliliters at one time and 3 times a day. And we found that the free radical, the MDA had been decreased, like very drastically. The normal range is 0 to 500, and quotient from 500 to 1,000, and risk is 1,000, 3,000, and high risk up to 5,000. Very high risk is more than 5,000. So you see the people are very in the range of the very high risk or very high risk. And then after 3 weeks of the drinking of this water is decreased to normal range of the people. It was very shocking. And so this is an example, is it decreased here, 60,000, 466 to decrease 486 in the normal. And surprisingly, also other things like this, urobilinogen, glucose, bilirubin, ketone, specific gravity, hot blood pH, protein, nitrite, and leukocyte had become in the normal range also. And also, some people had some trouble in the skin and keratosis, actinic keratosis also. And this person had a problem and could not cure for almost 4 years. And then just drinking and spray for 3 months, the disease was complete and judged by the attending the physicians. And also some other examples for the skin, the problems that applied. And this slide is that I was, it's under study right now, so that should I show it to or not? But now in the morning I saw that this picture, so I decided to show you that I really observed this kind of things. And water is become really the gel like that. So the experiment is going on. So, well, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I think probably most of us are going to be going out and buying Vortex machines after this. Well, we probably already have them, but anyway, thank you so much. Do I have any questions from the floor, please? Yep. Oh, Jerry?
One question, you mentioned hydrophilic powder, but I missed, did you say what kind of hydrophilic powder this is, and whether it depends which hydrophilic powder you use?
There are two kinds of the hydrophilic powder. The one is that the Carby that was known, the other one is that new source. And so two kinds of the hydrophilic powder were used, and I found that they show almost a similar effect.
I may have also missed this too, but when you were with the lowering of the MDA in the urine, how do we know that that just wasn't from our body's own natural detoxification? Did I miss that? So you showed 16 days later there was less MDA in the urine by drinking this water.
Yeah.
How do we know that that wasn't from our own natural detoxification processes? Was there a control? Thank you.
Do you mean the water that I use for drinking? Yeah, it's only HO9 or HO9 what you used. Because the water mixed with the hydrophilic powder is mixed with the powder. So I was not sure about that. Even if that I purified or is filtered, that there may be some remaining of very nano-sized powder or so. So that I was very cautious about that. But for the vortex-treated water, is that nothing was added, only physical process had been applied. So that I was not sure about that. And also, there was no problem in the chemical analysis, so that it passed over the drinking water, the regulation levels. So no problem. That's why we only had applied that one. So I think that the other one, hydrophilic powder, also depending on the characteristics showing other properties, I'm sure that it will show the similar effect.
Hi, thank you for the nice presentation, Gang-Woon. I'm just very curious to know what's your interpretation that why water becomes so different after the vortex treatment?
Very good question. Yeah, I do not know. So I found that depend on the water preparation technology, the water had a different degree of the crystallinity or degree of the structure also. So if we, for example, if we use 1 centimeter cubed and if we increase the 10 centimeter, then the peak absorption range is increased. So in that case, I guess that quantum coherence maybe not in uniform size, but there may be some wide range of the size. So that's why I think that there could be a degree of the crystallinity may exist in the water structure. And so sometimes the optical property does not show so good sensitive on the change, but it showed very good effect in the biological effect. So from my experience, I think that the most sensitive technique is the biological effect. And especially for the cell experiment, it's very simple, quick, and so we can get the answer very quickly.
Okay. Maybe I missed this, but did you filter out the ceramic powder after you added it, or did you just test the mixture of the water and the powder? Because if it's the latter, how do we know it's not the powder that's causing the effects and not the structuring? Did I miss something there?
Yeah, I think that is the good question. That's why that I tried to do as much as possible to remove the powders by centrifuge. Yeah, maybe 30 minutes. Yeah.
Just a question, please. This is Carlos Orozco. It's a brilliant presentation. I really love the way you present this. But I got a question. Have you done experiments where you vortex the water the other way around? I mean, instead of going this way, go the other way? And if so, have you seen anything? Is there a difference there with the vortex?
Okay. The HO9 had been treated unidirectionally, only one direction. And HO32 is that the one unidirectional treatment, and at the final stage, we reversed the other direction. And that showed the difference. And I think that there is much more room to study more about the structure and process, the procedure or so. But at this time, we found that the water showed very good reaction, I mean, decreasing the free radical in the body, so that we are selling it, trying to sell it. So we are trying to find out the partners in Europe or in America.
Okay. Thank you so much. You know, that's why people in Australia are far healthier, because the water goes round the other way. I'm just joking.
That's exactly the reason I asked that question.
Anyway, thank you so much. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Okay.
So we need to meet again at 5:15. If you can be back prompt for that time, please. Thanks so much.